Hello! Today we are going to be talking about the mysterious disappearance of siblings Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. I've recently taken an interest in Idaho true crime cases since I'm from here, and I wanted to do a series of kind of videos that were promoting or spreading awareness for the cases. And so while I was researching this case literally just kind of fell into my lap. It's still ongoing, so I'm seeing stuff about it all over Facebook, all over social media, just because a lot of my friends and family members are from Idaho, so I see updates about this constantly. So this case is literally still ongoing. Because of this, there's still new evidence coming out daily, and I tried to find the most accurate information I could possibly, but like I said, with everything being so new still, there is a little bit of speculation out there. I already started a write-up for this case for Reddit, and when there was some new evidence that came out that was really just kind of odd and weird, that I decided to change my focus to this case instead, because I think that it's really important to focus on something, especially since it's still ongoing, and there's more of a chance that we could actually help with the investigation, I guess. Okay, also, if you know of any good Idaho true crime cases, please just leave them in the comments below. There is a lot, but at the same time there's really not, so I'm trying to find as much as I can that's Idaho related. So before I get started, I do want to say that I mean absolutely no disrespect or harm to anyone involved in the case. I am just compiling the information that I've found online that seems to have a very general consensus that seems to be credible. I'm absolutely not accusing anyone of anything. But yeah, let's just get right into it. We're just going to start with a really basic outline of the situation, pretty much, for as we know so far what happened. As of September of 2019, 17-year-old Tylee Ryan and her 7-year-old brother JJ Vallow have been missing from Rexburg, Idaho, where they've resided with their mother Lori Vallow and stepfather Chad Daybell since this summer when Lori moved her and the kids to Idaho from Arizona. So authorities became involved on November 26, 2019 when out-of-state relatives actually contacted them because they hadn't heard from Lori's adopted son JJ since September. When authorities went to perform a welfare check on the children, Lori and Chad actually lied about where the kids were, saying that they were actually staying with the same out-of-state relatives who had requested the check, and then once police confronted them about this, they changed their story, saying that they were actually staying with other family members in Arizona and not those other family members after all. It was just a misunderstanding. They've told us several stories about where the children are supposed to be, but when we investigate, the children don't exist where they say they should, said Rexburg Police Chief Sean Turman in an interview. We don't know where they are at, but we think that they're in pretty serious danger. And honestly, I don't know why they came to this conclusion, why they decided that they were in serious danger. I mean, I'm assuming because they haven't been seen in months, but it doesn't really specify why this police officer thinks that they're in danger. So after a search warrant was issued, the police returned to the Daybell home and discovered that Lori and Chad had actually fled Rexburg. Whether this was by car or by plane is still yet to be answered, but does it really matter? Things get a lot weirder though when you learn about Chad and Lori's pasts. Chad Daybell was married to his previous wife Tammy Daybell up until her sudden death on October 19th of 2019. When authorities arrived at the home, apparently family members told them that they didn't actually want an autopsy conducted, and I couldn't find online whether this was Chad and Lori who didn't want the autopsy conducted or whether it was the kids and Chad or who it was. Chad and Tammy actually had 5 kids together. Her death was originally due to natural causes, but Tammy was only 49 at the time of her death, so to me the list of natural causes seems pretty short unless she had some sort of underlying condition that we don't know about, which is totally possible. An interview with an Idaho sheriff, Les Humphreys, revealed that there might have actually been more to Tammy's death than originally thought.
Do you know if Tammy Daybell had a big life insurance policy?
There is some information along those lines that I'm not at liberty to speak about right now.
But that is being investigated.
Yes, it is.
Just 10 days before Tammy died, she reported pulling up in the driveway of her house and that a masked man came up behind her and started firing an empty paintball gun at her. She asked what the guy was doing and he didn't respond. She then said that she yelled for help and the man took off. The sheriff's office did send somebody out to the home to investigate.
She explained what had happened. There wasn't anything there that at the time we could do, and everybody kind of brushed or summed it up as a prank by somebody's part. But that was one of the things that was a red flag.
Despite this kind of random paint gunman incident, it wasn't actually until the children's disappearance caused Arizona officials to reach out to their Idaho counterparts that authorities finally decided to reinvestigate her death, and her body was actually exhumed on December 11th of 2019. An autopsy was performed, but the results of this are still not released to the public. It's believed that Chad and Lori actually married weeks after his previous wife's death. Rexburg police implied that her death may have had something to do with the disappearance of Tylee and JJ, but as to how they're connected is still kind of unclear, but it kind of also explains why they think the children are in danger. I mean, if they for some reason believe that Lori and Chad had some part in the death of Tammy Daybell. So Lori was married to her estranged and fourth husband, Anthony Charles Vallow, up until he died when the couple got into a really heated argument, and Lori's brother Alex Cox stepped in to intervene, and Charles Vallow actually hit him with a baseball bat, to which Alex Cox retaliated by shooting him to death. More curious still, Lori's third husband and father of Tylee Ryan, Joseph Ryan, actually died in 2018 of an alleged heart attack. The couple had actually divorced in 2000, but because they were still locked in a custody battle, Joseph Ryan had moved to Arizona to be closer to Tylee. His body wasn't discovered for weeks, for 5 whole weeks, until a neighbor noticed like a foul smell coming from his apartment, obviously the smell of his decaying body. And I just thought that that was really interesting that nobody found his body. I didn't see anything about a missing persons report, and why wasn't anybody checking on? Did he not have a job? I don't understand how that his body wasn't found for 5 weeks. That just seems like a really long time. So coincidentally as well, it's all really just a big coincidence at this point. Lori's brother, who had just killed her husband just a few months before, actually died on December 12th of 2019, which again, coincidentally, happens to just be the next day after Tammy Daybell's body was exhumed. Chad Daybell is an author, and he's written numerous books about the end of the world, and he's actually part of a religious group that's an offshoot of the Mormon Church that's called It's been described as a doomsday cult. So Lori Vallow is actually involved in this group as well, and her family members have stated that her demeanor has completely changed in the past 2 years that she's been involved in this group. They also believe that it probably has something to do with the disappearance of Tylee and JJ, the deaths of Lori's 2 previous husbands, Joseph and Charles, her brother Alex, and Chad's previous wife. In divorce documents from before Charles Vallow's death, apparently Lori actually claimed that she was a god assigned to carry out the work of the 144,000 at God's second coming in July of 2020. So this summer apparently is when this is all going to take place. These documents also show that she told her late husband that she would kill him if he tried to get in the way, and that she had an angel there to help dispose of the body, which to me honestly says a lot. It seems like she knew that this was wrong. Why would she need to dispose of the body if this was for Christ's second coming? There seems to be a disconnect there, to me at least. So Charles Vallow actually took out an order of protection against his wife Lori after she had threatened him this way, because I guess he didn't think that those threats were all that empty, I'm assuming. Lori's niece apparently actually followed in Lori's footsteps and joined the same religion, and her ex-husband claims that she actually tried to kill him by shooting at him. So the kids have now been missing for coming up on 6 months now, and there's yet to be any trace or anything that has to do with them. Lori has been completely unhelpful. She doesn't seem that concerned or bothered by the fact that her kids are missing. Months after fleeing Idaho, Chad and Lori were actually located in Princeville, Hawaii, which is on the island of Kauai, just last month in January, and authorities told Lori that she had 5 days to produce the children or to be held in contempt of court. Lori apparently missed the January 30th deadline, and so their car and home in Hawaii were actually searched consequently. And they recovered a cell phone, which was soon to be determined to belong to 17-year-old Tylee Ryan. On it, they found several texts that have been sent since the last sighting of the children. One that read, "Hi, miss you guys too, love ya," to what's described as a concerned friend, but there's really no more information as to who that was. Like, I'm confused why that wasn't a bigger deal. Recently, photos have surfaced on social media that show Chad and Lori actually smiling and laughing on some beach in Hawaii as they celebrate their marriage, just as happily as any newlywed couple would be whose children aren't missing. In these photos, there was no family in sight. There were no traces of any children in them. Like I said, Chad actually had 5 children from his previous marriage with Tammy, and Lori Daybell obviously has Tylee and JJ, but she also has an even older son, Colby Ryan. And so after looking into Colby a little bit more, he's actually started a YouTube channel to promote awareness for the case. He's made a series of videos, including one about Tylee and JJ, in which he just talks about like how much he loves his siblings and like their relationship and like the best parts of them as people type of thing. There's another one that's called Pray for the Best, in which he talks about focusing our attention on finding the kids and just praying for their well-being as much as possible, and not so much focusing on the story behind the case and like what actually happened and pointing fingers and assigning blame to different people. There's another one that's just addressed to his mother, in which he like literally begs Lori to just do the right thing and to, you know, that she can end this. She has the power to end this whole situation. His last and final upload was on January 31st, and it's titled To My Family. And if you'll remember, January 31st is actually the day after Lori failed to produce the kids. And in this video, he actually discusses how watching the press conference was for him and how angry it made him seeing her in Hawaii without the kids there. But like, he was still very like positive and like, I love you, mother, like that type of thing, and just still just like hoping for the best.
Mom, I just want to say to you that as much pain as I've been in, and I know it's not just about me, and I'm not trying to make it about me, but as much pain as I've been in the last little bit, I still pray for you. I still pray for the kids every day.
So I'll link Colby's YouTube in the description below, but just be aware that the videos are really emotional and like kind of hard to watch because it's really sad to see what he's going through. I mean, not only are his siblings missing, his mother is like not talking to him at all, and that's probably really tough. However, this kind of hopeful attitude that Colby seemed to have had in the January 31st video and the previous videos as well, and more so, seems to have disappeared in only a few short days. On February 2nd, a local Arizona Fox affiliate actually interviewed Colby, in which he talks about the kids and how much he misses them. He talks about the events that transpired the day that his stepfather Charles was killed, and he also talks about some of the events leading up to the disappearance of the children and Lori moving to Idaho in the first place from Arizona. In this interview, he also states that he's done with his mother.
Tells me his relationship with his mom began to change a year ago after she abruptly moved from Arizona to Hawaii with her daughter, leaving her husband, Charles Vallow, and their 7-year-old son with autism behind. After about a month, she came back. Lori and Charles would eventually separate, but on July 11th, 2019, Colby got a phone call from his mom. She said he had a heart attack. But body cameras show a homicide investigation at the Vallow home. Chandler police say Lori's brother, Alex Cox, shot and killed Charles in self-defense. Colby says when he came to visit his mom later that day, she revealed details on the fight that turned deadly.
Why would you not tell me what was going on? Like, this is worse. This is a million times worse than what you said.
Colby's uncle Alex died suddenly in December. The cause still unknown.
Oh, I'm done. I've been done. The day that I saw them without the kids walking around Hawaii, that was it.
Speaking of Lori's odd behavior, she's also been extremely unhelpful in this investigation of her missing children, seeming unbothered and unconcerned whenever she's confronted or anybody tries to ask her any questions about it. She also just flat out avoids questions, as you saw just now. This demeanor matches the one she had in this clip that was taken literally minutes after her brother shot and killed her husband. Lori Vallow is seen laughing and joking about the neighbors being upset about the commotion, basically. And she also allegedly threw a pool party just the same afternoon in the same house, I'm assuming, where her husband had just been killed hours earlier.
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbor stood the last time.
Gotcha.
Like, hi neighbor, sorry. Arizona detectives say throughout Lori's interview with police, she wasn't fazed.
It was kind of like a happy-go-lucky. She was just kind of smiling. She was talking about how Tylee was going to go to BYU, Hawaii, and it was just a very, very nonchalant. You would have thought that we just, recovered their stolen vehicle.
Obviously, since the couple already had divorce proceedings underway, you wouldn't expect her to just be like so sad because it's the love of her life or anything like that. But having your own brother shoot and kill your husband, I feel like would leave you at least a little shaken up. No matter how much you didn't like them anymore, it would leave you a little bit like, wow, that just happened. Not just laughing and joking around. And I know that grief and trauma affects everybody differently, but this demeanor just seems a little odd to me. Tylee's aunt actually has her own theory about Charles' mysterious death and the children's disappearance as well.
How can everyone be so calm and, seemingly so unaffected?
That's Tylee's aunt, Annie Cushing. She believes that what Lori and Cox told police was a cover-up. Because the children were witnesses, that's why they're missing.
I do wonder with Tylee if she was asked to toe the line to keep everyone out of prison.
The day after Charles was killed, Lori told Charles's 2 sons from a previous marriage that their father had died via text message.
And I couldn't believe that she did that in that way. I wish she would have called me and said, can you please tell Cole? But to do it so brutal through a text was just...
Lori's overall reaction to her husband's death was just bizarre in so many ways, and the fact that she texted his kids what she did is just really hard for me to wrap my mind around. I have a stepmother, and I can't imagine her just dropping that on me over text so casually. Reports say that she had the same sort of demeanor right after the body of her ex-husband Joseph Ryan was found as well, which isn't too surprising, I guess. So Lori and Chad's behavior about the kids has been really just odd from the start, obviously. In addition to lying about where the children were, apparently Chad Daybell actually told someone else that Lori had no kids at all. And on another occasion, Lori allegedly herself told someone that she had no daughter, that she had died over a year before, which obviously we know is not true. The kids have been missing since September, but that's not even close to a year. And I don't know when she said this either, and it could have just been in October that she said that she had no daughter, or even in August, or I don't know. Surveillance footage at an Idaho storage unit facility actually shows the couple dropping off the children's belongings only a short time after they were last seen. JJ's grandparents actually hired a private investigator, Rich Robertson, who says, if they had expected the kids to be coming home soon, why would that stuff be in storage? On the other hand, if they didn't think the kids were ever coming back, why keep it? Which raises a point that I hadn't quite thought of, because if they just thought that they were at a relative's house and were going to come home soon, why would they put it in storage? But if they knew that they were never coming back, why keep it in storage in the first place? Why not just get rid of it at that point? So despite being missing for so long, an Indiana woman is actually sure that she saw Tylee at a concert in Nashville, Tennessee in late December. This woman, Sarah Elrod Osbrook, I believe, describes a girl that looked exactly like Tylee, who was known as Amy, and she was seen with a couple who appeared to be in their 60s. Sarah says that she didn't actually make a connection between this girl and Tylee until after, and she was scrolling through her Facebook and she saw a picture of Tylee on Facebook. But even without knowing or thinking that this was Tylee, she just thought that this couple and the child were just acting so strangely. Sarah is a longtime paramedic in Indiana, a court-appointed advocate for children, and a former 911 dispatcher. She and her husband Bradley, who works for the state of Illinois Department of Corrections, have both been trained in spotting signs of human trafficking. So they kind of know what they're talking about here. And so they carry crayons that are wrapped in paper that they leave in public spaces for people who are in danger, so they can leave a note in hopes of being found or helped. So Sarah apparently slipped one of these crayon and paper packets into the coat pocket of the girl she met in Nashville. Since Sarah and her husband were sitting at a table with a bunch of other people that they didn't know, that didn't really know each other, everyone was introducing themselves and saying where they were from. And when it came to the girl's turn, she said that she was from out west, and that the older guy that was with her replied, "You know better than that," and then claimed that him, the woman, and the child were all from the Knoxville, Tennessee area. The older man actually also refused to let a photographer take a picture of the three of them, which was also just kind of odd. Sarah said the girl appeared overly excited. She was singing to Christmas music in the background and talking about just subject to subject, just kind of bouncing around like teenage girls do. And then at one point she watched the older man pull out his phone, and he appeared to text someone. And then seconds later, the older woman that was with him appeared to read a text and then got up with the girl, and they went somewhere else, maybe to the bathroom, for about 10 minutes. At some point while they were gone, Sarah also says that the older man got up and joined them. And then they all three returned, and apparently the girl's demeanor had completely changed. She was a completely different person. She wasn't cheerful, she wasn't excited, she wasn't talking anymore. And apparently Sarah asked her about this. And before the girl could answer, the older woman actually spoke up and said she has to teach a church group, which struck Sarah as odd, because what does that have to do with, unless she's trying to conserve her voice, I don't really see how that's relevant. So at the end of the night, Sarah said that the girl actually hugged her, and when she was hugging her, Sarah whispered in her ear that she had put the paper and the crayons in her pocket and to leave a note if she was in danger. To this, the girl actually responded just by hugging her tighter, and then the older man grabbed her by the elbow and they left. And that was it. And then later that night, she, like I said, she was on Facebook and happened to see a picture of Tylee and was 100% sure that this was who she had saw. But honestly, just the behavior in general of this family or couple or whatever it was is odd enough on its own. I'm not sure that it has anything to do with Tylee, honestly, but I feel something's going on there. It feels really weird, especially the "I'm from out west" comment and the older man being like, "You know better," and no photos being taken of them. It's all really strange. So finally, there was one thing I found online, and I only saw it in one source, so it could not even be true. And even if it is, I really don't actually know how it could relate to anything or how it could have any impact on the case. But apparently JJ's school in Arizona had an app for the parents, I'm assuming, probably where you could see their grades or something, or pay for their lunch, I don't know. But apparently a device that's registered to Lori Vallow has been continually using this app for months, even though JJ hasn't been enrolled there. I really don't know what to think about that. It seems like a really random piece of evidence, but I don't know if it really means anything. It's just a weird coincidence, like a lot of things in this case seem to be. As I was researching this case, I found that the Daybells actually left Kauai just a couple days ago on February 17th. My original thought before I read the rest of the article was that maybe they were coming back to Idaho to face reality, but actually they're just going to Maui. And I think that maybe this move is due in part to public backlash to them being there. I know that Princeville, where they were before, was getting a lot of media attention that local residents didn't want, especially when they couldn't support the people that the attention was focused on. So you can listen to this last part if you want, but it's going to be kind of theory heavy, and it's going to talk about my own opinions based on what I've read online, which may not be even true. So if it's not, I would love to be re-educated by people who actually know what they're talking about, because like I said, there's so many different sources online that say different things, but this is what I believe based on what I've read. So anyway, there's not much in the way of theories at this point. I'm actually shocked that Lori and Chad Daybell haven't been arrested. They were briefly detained in Rexburg, I think, but they're not arrested. The children haven't been seen in like 6 months, and one is literally 7 years old. I mean, Tylee is 17, and that's almost legal, but it's still not, but almost. But a 7-year-old is still definitely a child. Anyway, so that's the end of this case, but I do want to say Joshua is a 7-year-old with brown hair and brown eyes. He's 4 feet tall and he weighs 50 pounds. He's also slightly autistic, and Tylee is a 17-year-old girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. She is 5 feet tall and weighs about 160 pounds. Anyone with information regarding the whereabouts of the children since September, or just information about the case in general, is urged to please call the Rexburg Police Department at 208-359-3000 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. Hello, welcome back. I'm wearing much different clothing and my cats are fighting in the background, but I'm wearing much different clothing now, and that's because last night as I was editing, Lori Vallow got arrested yesterday, January 20th, so that's sick. So Lori Vallow is being held in Kauai on a $5 million bond. She is being charged with 2 counts of felony desertion of a child, misdemeanor charges of resisting and obstructing an officer, solicitation of a crime, and contempt. Now Chad hasn't been arrested, so this is really all we know as of right now. She's going to have a hearing that will determine whether she gets extradited back to Idaho or not. But other than that, that's all. Thanks for watching. Bye!